Namaskar. Welcome to RIG History Extended, your dedicated space for deep, data driven explorations into India's past. Here we move beyond textbook summaries and step directly into the archaeological trenches, inscriptions, texts, and landscapes that shaped our civilization. Today, in episode 8 of our Indian Political History series, we begin our detailed journey into one of the oldest urban cultures on the planet, the Harappan civilization. We will trace how its story first came into light in the 19th and 20th centuries, starting from the accidental observations of Charles Masson to the landmark excavations of Cunningham, Marshall, R.T. Banerji, Vats, Mackay, and Wheeler. This episode will show how Harappa was rediscovered brick by brick, seal by seal, and layer by layer. Let's begin the story of how Harappa emerged from the dust of millennia to rewrite everything we knew about ancient India. Introduction. This presentation examines the Harappan civilization, covering its discovery, excavation history, major sites, urban planning, architecture, script, administration, and cultural significance across India and Pakistan. We will study the early contributions of Charles Mason, Cunningham, R.T. Banerjee, Sir John Marshall, M.S. Watts, E.G.H. Mackay, Wheeler, and others whose excavations shaped modern understanding between 1826 to 1948. Focus will be given to key sites such as Harappa, Mohenjodaro, Kalibangan, and Chanhu-daro, Lothal, and Sutkagen-dor, with their structural features, citadels, dockyards, and urban layouts. We will explore streets, drainage systems, brick by brick buildings, citadels, granaries, wells, courtyards, and multi room houses, including iconic structures like the Great Bath. Topics include the undeciphered script, standardized bricks, weights, pottery styles, triangular cakes, and evidence of long administrative continuity. The presentation concludes with Harappan economic practices, granary parallels, cart track discoveries, and the civilization's lasting influence on later Indian traditions. Origins of Harappan studies and dating issues. Ancient Indian history is usually divided into prehistory, protohistory, and history proper, but this scheme is inapplicable to India because written records before Ashok are unavailable, though writing existed in India centuries before Buddha. The earliest Indian materials which were written are Harappan seals, though the script is undeciphered, making it difficult to determine whether Harappan culture is pre Vedic or post Vedic. Scholars prefer studying Harappa before Vedic culture because the script remains unknown and because Harappan political and social structures may connect with later historical systems seen in epics and Puranas. In 1826, Charles Mason identified the mounds of Harappa, later visited by General Cunningham in 1853 and 1873, who recorded seals typical of Harappan culture. Seals in the British Museum prompted Sir John Marshall, Director General of Archaeology 1902 to 1934, to initiate excavations. Major excavations and early findings. In 1922, Rakhal Das Banerjee, while excavating a Buddhist site, found similar seals at Mohenjodaro, establishing its antiquity. Excavations led to Marshall's monumental works Mohenjo-daro and the Indus Civilization 1931, confirming the civilization's prehistoric nature. Between 1926 to 1939, Major excavations at Harappa were done by M.S. Vats, published in Excavations at Harappa 1940. Work continued under K. N. Dixit, Marshall with H. Hargreaves, E. J. H. Mackay, who later published further excavations at Mohenjodaro in 1938. N. G. Majumdar discovered new sites Chanhu-daro, Ali Murad, Amri, Lohri, Pindi Wahi. Chanhu-daro yielded pure Harappan pottery. Amri produced pre-Harappan culture. In 1929 to 30, M.S. Wirtz discovered a Harappan site at Ropar, expanding its geographical spread. Wheeler's contributions and changing theories. Later findings showed that Harappa and Mohenjo-daro excavations had been left incomplete, recognized by Brigadier, later Sir Mortimer Wheeler, Director General from 1944 to 48. Wheeler's military background enabled him to identify bastions, towers, and an acropolis at Harappa in May 1944 and flood-worn citadel remains at Mohenjo-daro. Discoveries since 1947 changed early theories, forcing revisions of Marshall's interpretations and forming new ones. Wheeler proposed that Harappan culture was destroyed by Aryans based on stratigraphy linking Harappan layers with cemetery age culture, considered alien and intrusive. Since Vats discovered Ropar, further excavations in Rajasthan, Gujarat, and North India proved that Harappan culture was not limited to the Indus Valley. Each new discovery challenged previous assumptions, indicating that final conclusions on Harappan culture were still premature. Spread of Harappan culture and geography. The term Indus Valley Civilization or Indus Civilization is inaccurate since Harappan sites extend beyond the Indus system. Even the term Harappan civilization is imperfect because naming depends on the first discovered site. About 100 Harappan sites have been found across a vast area. Alamgirpur in Ganges Yamuna River in UP, Ropar near Chandigarh, Bhagatrav on Kim, Sutkagen-dor near the Makran coast, and Karachi near the Iran frontier. The civilization's area covers 5 lakh square miles. Current knowledge suggests the main axis lay along the Indus and Ghaggar, Sravasti Drasavati region. Ancient geographical conditions prove that Rajasthan was not a desert in proto-historic times. The northern desert region between rivers Sravasti and Drasadvati formed Brahmavarta. The Sutlej was once a tributary of the Shravasti before joining the Bias, while the southern region was watered by the Luni and its tributaries. The earliest phase of Harappan civilization may have arisen in less fertile area aided by navigable rivers. Importance of Mohenjo-daro and cultural phase. The name Mohenjo-daro, situated in the Larkana district of Sindh in West Pakistan on the right bank of Indus, means city of the dead and lies about 3 miles from the river on the floodplain. Annual flood water has left thick layers of silt, raising the land's surface by over 30 feet since Harappan times, causing a corresponding rise in water level and preventing deeper excavation of its earliest cultural layers. Exposed baked bricks, especially in Sindh, deteriorate faster due to the atmospheric salt, though decay would have been slower when fields were regularly cultivated. Calculations show Harappan baked brick structures lasted 70 to 80 years. Occupation levels show that there are 10 levels which were excavated at Mohenjo-daro, indicates 700 years of history. Archaeology suggests 1. High period with massive brick platform of the citadel. 2. Intermediate period disrupted by a disastrous flood. 3. Late period with declining construction and reused bricks. City layout, architecture and housing. Mohenjo-daro had regular layout with broad streets up to 50 feet wide, oriented to compass, dividing the area into 6 or 7 blocks of 800 feet east-west and 1200 feet north-south. Blocks contained irregular networks of small roads, lanes, and alleys. Following earlier planning lines, entrances opened from narrow lanes set at right angles to main streets. Houses were commonly surrounded by walls separated by narrow open strips. Deep foundations on artificial mud platforms protected buildings from floods. Harappans used highly developed brick masonry with occasional use of bitumen for waterproofing, though mud mortar was more common. Houses ranged from one-room tenements to large mansions with over a dozen rooms, courtyards and multiple wells. Many houses show staircases indicating upper floors. Bathrooms on the first floor used brick pavements connected to drains and external vertical chutes. House design, drainage system, and great bath. Houses had open courtyards surrounded by chambers with doors and windows opening inward. Kitchens were in sheltered corners and ground floors contained storerooms and baths. Doors were likely wooden and placed at ends of the walls, while windows were rare on the outer walls. Roofs were flat and wooden. Public wells often stood between two houses. Mohenjo-daro's city life was distinguished by its elaborate drainage network, unmatched in contemporary cities. Main drains, 2 feet deep, ran beneath streets with brick or stone covers, and inspection traps at regular intervals. Each house had drains leading to street drains, which emptied into large culverts discharging into the river. Manholes were placed at regular intervals for cleaning. A landmark structure, the Great Bath, measured 39 into 23 feet, 8 feet deep, surrounded by verandas and approached by platforms. Gypsum mortar bricks and bitumen created waterproofing. West of the Great Bath lies a structure identified as a hammam or hot air bath. A large granary and buildings like the citadel complete the complex. Harappa, the citadel, and other major sites. Harappa, though the type site of the civilization and originally as large as Mohenjo-daro, lost most structures because of its bricks were removed for local buildings and for ballast in 100 miles of Lahore-Multan railway. The Ravi, now 6 miles north of Harappa, once surrounded the city in Montgomery district of West Punjab, altering its ancient landscape. Excavations between 1944 to 1946 revealed a massive citadel, demolishing older theories and introducing new interpretations of Harappan urban planning. The citadel measures 460 by 215 yards, resting on a 30-foot high platform of mud brick with defensive walls and structures including granaries 100 yards north of the platform area. Near the granaries lay barrack-like ranges and platform lines used for pounding grain, indicating large-scale storage and processing. Kalibangan, on the left bank of the Ghaggar, ancient Shravasti, shows houses oriented cardinally with lanes laid out north-south and east-west, built mainly with 30 by 15 by 7.5 centimeter mud bricks. Chanhu-daro, Lothal, Sutkagen-dor, and site characteristics. Chanhu-daro is located 80 miles south of Mohenjodaro. Chanhu-daro reveals a chessboard layout with well-built trains typical of Harappan planning, though it is much smaller. At Lothal in Gujarat, 60 miles south of Ahmedabad, excavations uncovered a burnt brick dockyard which measures 715 feet by 121 feet, connected by a 23-foot wide channel to the Vogavo River falling into Arabian Sea. The westernmost site, 30 miles off the sea, served as a seaport linked by navigable channel in Sutkagen-dor. It possessed a citadel which is 190 yard by 130 yards, surrounded by a 30-foot high white defensive wall with towers. A small town lay east of the citadel at Sutkagen-dor, showing Harappan urban features on the Makran coast. Major threats include Harappan seals, Harappan scripts on pottery, decorative motifs on ceramics, triangular cakes 1.5 to 4-inch across, uniform town planning and drainage. Urban layout, brick standardization, and the Harappan script. Cities commonly had high western citadel protecting the main residential zone to the east, showing deliberate hierarchical layout. Harappans used remarkably uniform brick sizes, bonding styles, and construction techniques across vast regions, suggesting standardized weights and measures. The uniformity of planning and construction was a major achievement, though without textual evidence, it is unclear whether this uniformity was regulated or culturally inherited. Although undeciphered, seals from Kalibangan show that the script was written right to left, not in Bostrophedan form as previously assumed. Sir Mortimer Wheeler compared Harappan features with Tigris-Euphrates world in 2130 to 2000 BC, where great cities had temple-owned granaries, drawing parallels for Harappan granaries. In Egypt, treasuries collected taxes in kind for labor, paralleling Harappan ideas of stored grain and public distribution. Shohagura plate, Mauryan evidence, and granary interpretations. Though Wheeler did not fully publish his reasoning, he asserted that ideas influencing Harappan organization may have come from Euphrates-Tigris regions, shaping urban direction. The earliest Indian copper plate, the Shohagura plate, mentions storehouses of dravya or grain at Triveni, Mathura, Kanku, Modama, Bhadra used for public distribution during droughts or distress, assigned to Maurya Chandragupta from 324 to 300 BC. A Brahmi inscription from Mahastan, which is in Bogra district in Bangladesh, records two orders, one fragmentary and undeciphered, the second concerning distribution of paddy from the granary and treasury. This inscription may date to 4th century BC or later. Although separated by 1000+ years from Harappan times, scholars consider comparison permissible as similar administrative granary systems might reflect continued traditions. The presence of structured food distribution before Ashok suggests that such systems may trace back to much older administrative patterns. Prehistoric card track and cultural conservatism. A prehistoric card track was found 18 feet below the present surface under cemetery age at Harappa. The track nearly east-west was 13 feet wide with 6 ruts. Each pair of ruts measured 3 feet 6 inches to 3 feet 7 inches, matching the gauge of modern Sindhi carts, indicating long-standing continuity in transport technology. The track belongs to a very early phase of Harappa, showing established communication routes even before later urban layers. Harappan culture showed little change in pottery or script over long periods, indicating high stability and conservatism. Several Harappan administrative features survived over a millennium after the civilization's decline, as successors were unable to evolve significantly improved systems. The persistence of brick ratios, drainage patterns, and town models suggests a deeply rooted cultural framework that endured despite external challenges. Sources. The primary source for this presentation is detailed narrative on the Harappan civilization from the Concise History of Ancient India, covering discoveries, excavations, and archaeological interpretations. Important excavation information has been taken from reports published by Sir John Marshall, including Mohenjo-daro and the Indus Civilization 1931, and subsequent volumes summarizing the 1921 to 27 findings. Additional data is drawn from the extensive excavation reports of M.S. Vats published in Excavations at Harappa in 1940, describing site layers, architectural remains, and artifacts. Observations and interpretations by E. J. H. Mackay, especially in further excavations at Mohenjodaro published in 1938, have been incorporated to explain urban planning and drainage patterns. The analysis includes theories and conclusions by Sir Mortimer Wheeler based on his excavations in 1944 to 1948 at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, and his comparative studies with West Asian civilizations. References from archaeological surveys such as Archaeological Remains, Monuments, and Museums, New Delhi, 1964, have been used to support descriptions of site locations and structural features. Inscriptions like the Shohagura copper plate and the Mahastan Brahmi inscription have been included as comparative evidence for administrative parallels. This brings us to the end of episode 8 of the Indian Political History series. Today we explored how Harappa was discovered, how excavations unfolded across Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Kalibangan, Chanhu-daro, Lothal, and Sutkagen-dor, and how each new finding changed scholarly understanding of India's earliest cities. But this is only the beginning. In the next episode of this playlist, we will go deeper into Harappa, its city planning, architecture, the Great Bath, drainage systems, granaries, pottery, seals, script, and cultural life of its people. There is much more to uncover. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this kind of detailed, well researched history, make sure to stay connected with RIG History Extended. The story of Harappa continues in our next episode. Dhanyabad.